CHICANO ideas. How's it going, everybody? What's up with it? Me chilling, keeping it cool, keeping it Chicano ideas. Culture is power, history is knowledge. So, what's up? Let me talk about black and brown unity, black and brown understanding. I made videos like that. Trust me, I made plenty of videos and I deleted a lot of videos. I made a black and brown understanding. But let me even talk further. Whatever, I don't remember what I talked about, but let's talk about black and brown get along. If you ever seen my videos, interviews that I did with Loked Out TV or Cholo Trucker, I talk about growing up with the blacks, with the brothers, and how I almost, went into possibly swaying that way into that hip hop brother mentality based off, that's what I seen. Based off because being Chicano, being Mexicano of that Cholo style is not popular. It wasn't a popular trend, especially where I lived on my part of town, Rancho Cordova, Sacramento County, eastbound, a little part out there on the side where it was very small. My part of town, everybody knew everybody. There's like 20 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 1 high school. And we never really got anybody from any other part of town that came over to our high school. It was never like that. It was never like other kids got in trouble, they'd come to Folsom Cordova Unified School District. Nah, like we only had 2 schools in our district, Folsom and Cordova, and no one from Folsom was coming over to Cordova for sure. And this is how it was like in middle school, when in the 7th grade, when I officially started dressing like a cholo in 2004, my second, third trimester, because I bought me some Cortezes when I went to Mexico. And so I bought some Cortezes, came back after Christmas, all choloed out. You feel me? San Jose jersey, long pants, all creased up, long socks, I don't know, but Cortezes on my feet. And then everybody was like, what? Everybody was tripping out, like laughing. I had fools laughing at me because I was wearing long socks. Like the brothers were laughing at me, like, bro, you dress like that? Why you dressing like those fools? Why you dressing like a scrap? You like wearing socks like that? Like the brothers were laughing at me. Even some of them, my Chicano homies were like, bro, why you dress like that? That's scrap shit, homie. But they're all, from not a Chicano, generational Chicano like me that grew up. Yeah, some of my homies were from Texas. So they came over here in the 90s like I did from San Jose, but they weren't California, Norteño, bred, all that mentality. Their family didn't grow up like that like I did. So them growing up here, they were swaying with the brothers. And because of, to me, the brothers are more popular, you see them trending on TV, they make the music, and so it was easier to trend that way. I also believe in, like, to some people, uh, it's trend look. So being a cholo was played out also, and a South Side thing, a LA thing. But see, growing up in Rancho Cordova to be exact, because I didn't grow up in South Sac, North Sac as a kid. I didn't go around town because my family's not from around town, so we had no reason to be going around town. Like if we lived in San Jose, we'd be everywhere part of town. So we were only in Rancho majority of the time. Some a little bit of family lived in South Sac, so that's the only time we went there. But they're from San Jose. We went there and that's it. We didn't know nobody else. So my part of town that I grew up in, the brothers. Let me say this, like, and now that I realize this and I'm older, like the brothers who claim Eastside Piru are the older guys. And let's say even the homies that were supposed to be N's, I didn't see them around when I was in middle school and high school too much because there was like a big gap, big 10-year generational gap. So these vatos were already in and out of jail, moving on, trying to take care of the kids. We're, 13, 14, 15. These cats are, 21 and up. And then we were like third generation when it comes to being our barrio. And the second generation, they're like 5 years old, just a couple small. Our hood over with lasted like 4 generations, right? So we never really had big homies lacing us up like, hey, this is what it is to being a homeboy. We're not bloods. We're not this. We don't dress like that. We don't talk like that. We didn't really have a foundation, an establishment of homeboys gaming us and lacing us up. But the brothers, they would also, let the Chicano homies sway that way. They would never, all you would ever all you would hear before I got to start talking to my uncle, before I get into that, was the older Piru fools would tell us young Mexicans, "Oh, we get along in the pen, homie." That's what I would hear in middle school, and fools would bring that, "Oh, we get along in the pen. We don't get along with Southsiders. Black and brown get along. We're cool in the pen and shit. We're all red." Like the brothers, when I think about it, like they weren't lacing the Chicano homies up like, "Hey homie, you shouldn't be saying North and blood," or "You guys should really understand what you're doing." Yeah, we're cool together, but they weren't breaking it down. Like in the pen though, you guys are really your own card. You're your own card, and we're cool, but it's not all fucking. We're not on the yard hanging out playing basketball together. That's what they made it seem like. And to me it's like, well, maybe they did that purposely, because why would they tell young Chicanos like, we don't get along that much in the pen. We may funk it with each other, like we cooperate with each other, but it's not all fucking the way they really milked it to young Chicanos, I feel like. And it was easier because a lot of Chicanos, anyways, that would try to be Norteños, they would end up being Bloods, anyways, because it's not like we had an establishment, like I said, a foundation where when young Chicano homies wanted to be Northerners, we would get laced up. We didn't have that. A lot of fools were claiming North there, but we were with the Bloods and being laced up their way, and homies would end up turning into Bloods anyways. Like fuck it, there's no Northerners like that. Like, and just run with the Bloods. I know so many Chicanos that, claim Piru in prison, and, were homies and switched to being Piru as they grew up, because it was just easier to go that way. It's more funner. It's not so structured. It's more loose, and it's more of a trend to yell out Piru and all that. And the brothers allow that. That's why, that's why you could fuck around and hear people, young kids, fuck around and be like, "Oh, Piru, Piru," where I grew up. But if you yell out North and Sioux, you can't. It's not a trend. You're gonna get hit up, smacked up, homie. What you yelling that up? But it's cool to be yelling out Piru and blood, and the brothers just take you in, and yeah, yeah, and that's how they run it, to be not so organized, to be loosely trended out, and anybody could just fucking be cool and yell out Piru. And that's just a real spill. It was like they weren't lacing us up. They would let the young Chicanos until, if you see my videos, until my uncle came back around. My uncle started coming back around at the end of my 7th grade year. I didn't see them for almost over a year. And I was like, hey, asking them these questions. Well, we're both red. Nah, it don't matter if we're both red. Nephew, like, we don't kick it in the, like, well, they say that we kick it in the pen. Yeah, we're cool with each other in the pen, but it ain't like that, nephew. We're our own card. We're our own thing. We may funk it with them. Like, it ain't all what you seem to be. Don't say blood north and blood. Like a lot of foods will be like north there blood. Like nah, it's puro north there. Or it's like some Southsider like su trece cuz. What's up, cuz? Su trece cuz. Like it's not the same shit. And to me, it's just easier because of a lot of the in Sacramento, Oakland, or Frisco. Like Oakland and Frisco. Like one thing I said, I was watching an interview with Bozo last year when I first came across him talking to Cholo Trucker. He always said too, he's like, it don't make sense. He's like, we got the same number of Chicanos as we do brothers. So why are we swaying to them? Like when people say I'm a product of my environment, blah blah. But sometimes you got 30 Chicanos and 30 brothers. Why are we swaying towards that? Because it's more popular, it's more trendy. Maybe these are first generation Chicano Mexicanos, and they don't got that family Cholo Chicano mentality to get laced up like I did. My uncle seen I was swaying one way anyway, so he's like, let me lace you up right. We're not the same. It's not Piru, North there put together. We're not hanging out buddies in the pen. It's not like that. And so for Oakland and Frisco, like when these Chicanos being more urban, swaying more urban, a Chicano from there would have to explain. But from growing up with the brothers, maybe it's because it's more trendy. Because being a brother, you see the brothers on TV. They make the trends. They make the style, hip hop, and all that. They run it. And also maybe because that Cholo identity started in LA, so Chicanos from Oakland and Frisco no longer wanted to carry that persona. Now I don't want to dress like I'm from LA. Let's carry on this urban look, but yet, well, let's be more of this way than Cholo. So I couldn't say that because for me, when people say they're a product of their environment, I guess, but it's all about, if if there's 30 Chicanos and 30 brothers, that don't make sense. That's true, like Bozo said. Like, how would all these Mexicanos start swaying to be saying nigga this, cuz, and blood, and carrying themselves more like the brothers would do? Because brothers up north act more hyphy, right? And then you got the brothers in LA, they're all more like stilos, like a cholo almost. They're structured different. They're not all hyphy like the brothers in Northern California, Sacramento, and Oakland are. So it's like, for me, I'm not a product of my environment. I'm a product of my family. I always admire my family. I always liked that cholo look growing up, that cholo stilo, because I used to get made fun of. Like, I remember my sixth grade year, like middle school year, my sixth grade year, I was dressing more like a skateboarder when I came. I came fresh out of elementary. I didn't know anybody in the neighborhood because I lived in the neighborhood, but I went to a school outside the neighborhood of the hood, the West Aloma middle school, elementary school. So when I came, I like seen these cats around the neighborhood, but never really hung out with them. So it was like, for me, the kids were like, man, they were telling me I need to say nigga. Man, why do you talk like that, bro? You need to use some more slang. Say nigga, it's cool. Sag. Like the homies would be like, man, bro, you need to sag your pants. Why you got a belt on? Promote that shit. You got kids that would laugh at you for being like this. So of course, as a kid, you're gonna change your stilo. You like dressing Mexicano Cholo, but because you're trying to fit in or you're not a kid and being able to be like, bro, this is what I like to do, a lot of kids are going to sway that way. And especially if you got the brothers also making fun of you and you feel like, they make the brothers know they're all on hip hop, rapping and shit. But for me, I stood my ground my seventh grade year. I was like, nah, brother. I started getting like, nah, we're not the same, homie. I started after my uncle started lacing me up, after my seventh grade year on up, like my next year in middle school and all the eighth grade, like I was telling fools, nah, we don't hang out in the pen like that, homie, brother. Like what? Like brothers, like my homies are tripping out. They thought I was lying. Like, bro, how you know? My uncles are telling me this information. Who were northern? Like my homies didn't understand because their family was a northerner like that. They were growing up in Sacramento, growing up with the brothers, and their family was not structured like I was generations deep. Being from Northern California, they came from Texas or they were first generation Mexicanos and their parents are paisas and they're growing up, in this new culture and they don't know. And I'm over here talking about prison now. Like, bro, you can't say norte and blood together. And the hosts are like, why? It sounds better. I'm like, bro, it's puro norte. Like, that sounds dumb. Like, puro. Like talking about Chicano slang. Like, Chicano slang is not popular. It's dumb. And I stood my ground, homie. Like, I used to say, like, I'm not black, homie. Like, I used to tell my black friends, like, I'm not black. That's your style. Like, I'm Chicano, homie. This is the way my family grew up. This is the way I am. I always wanted to dress like this. I don't know. I never heard about Bloods and Crips growing up. It was North there, homie. This is what I grew up and being about. Yeah. And then like foods just eventually just like, damn, that's Rudy. Like I started keeping it real. Like, bro, I'm not black. I'm not trying to act like that, homie. Like I don't get lineups. Foods would tell me like, why ain't you getting your hair lined up? Blah, blah. Bro, I'm not black. I used to straight up say, I'm not black, homie. That ain't me. I'm Chicano, homie. We got our own style. My family's from San Jose. We're not from Sacramento. I ain't trying to act like that. Like, that's not how I ever wanted to be. And I was swaying that way only because you don't want to be left out. You don't want to get laughed at and shit. But luckily, in me, I know who I always wanted to be. And I had my uncles lacing me up the right way. So I was able to stand my ground and be like, nah, that ain't us. This is not the way it goes. We're not out kicking it in the pan like that. We're not North at Piru. Just because we both wear red, it doesn't mean we're the same. We're two different organizations and all this. Like started, you know, talking like that. So it was like, black and brown unity. It's good to have, but when you know people really gotta understand. Like, see, not every Chicano's not able to break it down like I am, and no Chicano's really gonna think about it. Like, was I persuaded because of this or that? Like, my story is interesting. A lot of these cats ain't gonna have a story like mine, willing to admit what I just admit. Being from families coming from a Cholo town coming to Sacramento. So it's like black and brown unity is important, but first, you need Chicano unity and all this. I'm a product of my environment, whoop de whoop. I guess if you are one Chicano growing up with the brothers, yeah, you're gonna sway that way probably. If you're one brother kicking it with the Chicanos, you're gonna sway that way. But when you got 10 brothers, 10 blacks, it's like how is one gonna be more than the other? How is these 10 Chicanos just gonna straight act like brothers, and how are these brothers gonna straight try to act Mexicano? Like, so that's my thoughts. I know personally, and people can never tell me when I talk about growing up being black and hanging around with blacks. So what do you think about this? Well, everything I just said, I'll tell people. Like, bro, I'm always gonna be a product of my family, not my environment, which is Sacramento raised. But I didn't pick up that mentality. I didn't pick up that stilo and all that. Other than that, culture is power, history is knowledge. That's just my thoughts of growing up with the brothers, black and brown understanding, and my point of view. And so, what do you think about Chicanos? Like, if you're a Chicano from Oakland or Frisco, what do you think? If you're from San Ho, I already know there's not even no brothers out there. Everybody knows that that's Chicano town, Mexicano town. If you're from Sac Town and shit, where it's Sac Town, Oakland, and Frisco dominated with that black and brown structure. So, if you're from there, what do you think about what I gotta say? Like, what's your opinion? What's your thoughts? You know, do we cater too much towards the black culture because it's more popular, because it's seen all over TV, because they're the basketball players, they're the football players, you know? Is it because, you feel like we're from NorCal, so Chicanos don't want to take on that stilo from LA, Chicanos, you know? And it's also, like I said, everything that I described. Who's your family? Where's your family from? How are you being taught? And how are you going to stand your ground? So, peace out, Chicano ideas.